starring Steve Denyer, who's joining me now from Virgin Radio. Very good morning.
That was so much fun.
It was, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
And that was, of course, the viral video, the spoof video that's been done of Harry ringing his dad, the King, and the King just not answering it. Very funny indeed. Anyway, listen, welcome. We've got loads to talk about. Let's start with Baby Reindeer. It's on the front page of The Sun this morning. Yeah. It's the show that's sort of taken the world by storm. Last night, Piers Morgan interviews the woman who says that she's the real Martha and the real woman who's supposedly the stalker. I mean, it's all fascinating. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, shall we have a quick look? This is what all the hype's about. I mean, literally 600,000 people tuned in last night, 8 o'clock for this. Here's the trailer.
Right.
This show is incredible.
Baby Reindeer.
He got absolutely obsessed.
A beef curtain.
I did not move.
Everybody is talking about Baby Reindeer.
Now fans are trying to find the real people behind the story.
Because it does depict real-life events.
It's blown up so quickly and so fast all around the world that I didn't expect it.
First of all, why have you decided to go public? When did you know that you were the person being depicted? He says the whole thing started because he felt sorry for you. Have you ever been to prison? What do you feel about Richard Gadd? You think he's mentally unwell? Did you ever turn up at his house? Would you accept that someone who did that would be very obsessive about something? Here's the thing, I don't know the truth. You do. Look down the barrel of that camera. To people who still doubt you, what do you say to them?
Wow.
Wow. I mean, where to begin?
Yes.
So much in the press. This is all over our timeline this morning.
Yeah.
Lots of people criticising, saying that she shouldn't be on TV, that she's mentally unstable. She says...
It's all right to make a Netflix show about her, though.
Well,
I mean, you know, let's have a little less hypocrisy, shall we?
Indeed.
You know?
I think the thing is, she wants to make her story clear. She said, you know, she's under a global spotlight. 74 million people have watched this. And she said, hang on a minute, I haven't had my say.
She also said she was very easily identifiable from it, didn't she?
Within 10 seconds, you could type in Baby Reindeer, Scottish lawyer, her real name, her identity pops up because it was a court case. So she's not denying the structure of Baby Reindeer. Just in case, you know, you haven't seen it, you're listening, you're watching, it's about a woman who comes into a bar, the barman gives her a free cup of tea. 2 years later, she's sent... apparently 41,000 emails, 2.5 hours of voicemails and all this stuff. She's not denying all of that, but she said to Piers last night she'd only written 18 emails. There'd only been one handwritten letter and only a few phone calls, so she's not denying it. It was
a curious kind of interview in a sense, and I said this to you earlier that I couldn't take myself away from it. I mean, I thought, I haven't watched the show at all. I watched the interview with Piers Morgan, then I watched the first you know, episode, and then I went to bed because it was 10 o'clock, because that's what I now do.
We do that, don't we?
10 o'clock, but I couldn't take my eyes off the interview with Piers, because on the one hand, you know, some people have been critical of him for not pushing her more, but obviously he did that deliberately because he didn't want to, you know, make her feel like she was being victimised or monstered or anything like that. But some of her answers were so weird that you were kind of going... and she was going, well, you know, at one time I had 6 different email addresses, or was it 4? I can't remember. You know, I don't understand how she thought that some of the answers she was giving was actually making it more confusing.
I think the big debate now is, was it right for Netflix to make Baby Reindeer? Has she been given any care? You know, she kind of came down here on her own kind of premise. £250 was spent on her travel costs when she wants to tell the story, but it looks like she's on her own.
And it doesn't look as if, Netflix didn't appear to have consulted her or anything
at all.
They made this, which originally was an Edinburgh Festival show, wasn't it, by Richard Gadd. Let's have a look at another clip. This is of her with Piers Morgan last night, accusing Richard Gadd of being off his head.
How do you think they would view you?
I think they are going to think what I think about Richard Gadd, that he's completely off his head. And I'm not worried about the current one because he's a lawyer and he...
So you currently have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
He's a lawyer?
Yeah.
In London?
Doesn't matter where he is. You know, I'd rather...
No, I understand, but how long have you...
5 years, 5 years.
You've been in a 5-year relationship?
Yeah, so I don't...
So what does he think
I don't want to drag him in. He thinks this is horrendous. All of my lawyer friends do, all of my professional friends do, other people do, people are being really sympathetic. People I don't know are saying things like, are you getting hounded in the street? You know, people are being really, really nice.
And again, she talks about being a lawyer, but then she denied having a law degree.
Yes.
And said, well,
it's so uncomfortable.
And then I have a photographic memory. And he's going, so what were your grades? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's just a very odd
so you
scenario.
deny doing this. Well, no,
Right.
not completely. And it's just, it's like, it was the most uncomfortable but riveting and fascinating watch I can remember.
Right.
And all eyes on this. There's going to be a follow-up show with Piers talking to experts about this interview and about what happens next and body language.
Well, she's claiming
experts.
she's going to sue, isn't she? I mean, at the moment, I think at the end of that Piers interview, and we're left with a very firm impression that she says it's all rubbish and I'm going to sue.
Yeah.
At which point, people are going to presumably find out whether or not, as Piers said, all of these emails came from a particular IP address.
Yes.
It's not difficult to prove.
No, they're all out there.
Whether they've all come, whether the messages have come, because we spoke about this earlier this morning, and I said, I don't even know how many messages 41,000 is, but it's a lot. Howard had sent us a text earlier to say it would be 22 messages a day for 5 years, or 112 messages a day for a year.
There we are.
That's a lot of messages.
That's a lot of work, isn't it?
I mean, that is pretty obsessive stuff, isn't it?
And, you know, step forward, I can just see it happening now, a Netflix documentary about the drama featuring this interview with Piers. This story is going nowhere. You know, it's not going away. This is going to be in our lives.
Maybe they'll end up doing a show with her as well. Moving on, a picture on the front page of the Times today, Brangelina, as we call them.
Yes.
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt locked in a battle over this vineyard that they bought when they were together down in the south of France, which makes some very, very nice wine, and very expensive wine. But there's a new twist in the tale, because a Falklands veteran who worked for them has basically said that Angelina tried to turn the couple's children against Brad Pitt.
Yes.
That's called parental alienation. I know a bit about that.
Yeah, so he said that she targeted the children's relationship with Pitt by ordering them to shun him.
Right.
They've got 6 kids together.
Right.
I mean, this is such a mess. This is just like the latest in a...
And it's been going on for a long time, hasn't it?
Ages, hasn't it?
I mean, they haven't been together for some time, and their oldest child, I think, is 22.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were 22 down to 15. It's just really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad. And you think in this time of micromanaged PR, which is everywhere, this is not being PR'd at all. This is crazy. We don't really need to hear all of this stuff, but you wonder... I mean, obviously, there have been loads of rumours about him being heavy-handed and maybe abusive and stuff like that, everything he's denied.
Right.
But, yeah, who'd have thought that it would end up like this?
Yes. My favourite bit of it is that it's because it's over this vineyard called Chateau Miraval, which I don't know whether you've ever tasted any of their wine. No. But it's quite famous. It's a sort of Whispering Angel, slightly similar kind of level. And they're calling it the War of the Rosé.
Yes.
Which is quite nice.
In Hollywood.
Yeah, there we are.
I love it.
There we are. Eurovision weekend as well.
We spoke about this on Plank of the Week, didn't we?
Yes.
So I can't remember the last time we had such a controversial Eurovision with politics, with the state of the world. Of course, Eurovision is a really easy way for people to protest. There are armed guards this year, Mike, outside the venue. The rumours are that tomorrow on live TV, various artists will show their support for various parts of the world by wearing things or unveiling things or costume malfunctions. Cheryl Baker's come out and said that our entry's no good and he hasn't got a chance.
It isn't great.
I mean, we heard the semi-final performance the other night, didn't we? And it wasn't great. He lost his microphone apparently from his trousers, so he couldn't hit the.
Well, I did mention earlier
notes.
he made it onto Plank of the Week. Should we have another look at it? Take your shirt off, by the way. That was my advice for people this weekend. You know, I don't like seeing people with shirts off wandering around the streets of our fair cities. You know, if you want to go to the beach and take your shirt off, that's fine.
Exactly.
Also, one thing that I wanted to say was we had Nikki French on, who apparently was the British entry in 2000.
I remember it.
And she said, funnily enough, because I said, you know, what's your favourite remembrance of it? She said, funnily enough, back then there was a controversy about Israel's entry, but at the end, some of them wanted to wave a Palestinian flag, and in the end they compromised and they waved Israeli and Palestinian flags.
There we are.
So, I mean, in 2000 they could solve it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year, perhaps
you
not
never
so
know.
much.
Something might happen tomorrow night that completely, you know, changes lots of minds.
Yeah.
I know a big venue, though, is not showing it. There's a few venues, especially in and around London, like pivotal venues, where showing Eurovision is one of the kind of cash cows of the year, and they're shutting shop. They're not showing it because the backlash of artists saying, I won't perform in your venue if you go ahead and show it tomorrow night. So
crazy,
it really, really is controversial this year.
Now, there's another Netflix documentary you want to mention.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if I could show a little clip of this. Yeah. This is about the Euros, supposed to be taking place in 2020. It took place in 2021. It's called The Final Attack on Wembley, when everyone kind of crowded into Wembley Stadium. Look at this.
England have a penalty in extra time that could see them through to the final. England have reached their first final since 1966.
I don't think I'd change anything about that day.
Yeah, I remember that day very well because it was a day when basically the security detail at Wembley was completely overwhelmed, wasn't it? By loads and loads of people. I think about 5,000, maybe more, turning up and just bunking their way in.
They've been outside the stadium for 10 hours before the event. And Netflix do these documentaries so well. It's kind of minute by minute, hour by hour. We have to think about our lives back then. We'd all been under the COVID regulations. Nobody had got out. They still had these regulations within the stadium. There were 21,000 free seats. So the fans rock up and they're all being kind of kettled in and thinking, well, there's a seat in there for us. But some really scary scenes with bottles being chucked. People turn up with their families. You know, there were dads with their little girls in the midst of
I remember seeing footage at the time of people just jumping over the gates. You know, people, security guards trying to sort of put fences up, and they just walked right through them.
Yeah.
You know?
You can imagine the amount of people who turned up that day thinking they're having the time of their lives, who will now be seen on Netflix behaving dreadfully.
And a lot of drug use as well, right?
All going on.
I presume that's all showing as well. Finally, 40 Towns, you had John Cleese on with Chris Evans.
He's just been out. What a morning. We've got John Cleese and Elizabeth Hurley, both in the green room of the corridor of Virgin Radio. John Cleese has recreated 40 Towers as a stage play. It's called 40 Towers, the play. It's on the Apollo in London. And what they've done, because you remember we've spoken about this before, there were only 12 40 Towers episodes. So they've kind of mashed up 3 of the episodes. And the reviews are good. I haven't been to see it, but I did want to mention it. And, you know...
What's happening with the new version? Because there's supposed to be a new series that he's working on. Is that still going on?
Yeah, I don't think so. And he didn't mention that. I think all efforts have been on the play to kind of recapture some of the great moments. Of course, they can't really do it, I don't think, anymore.
No.
You know, it would just be difficult. I mean, people are already saying, you know, the actors on a patch on the original
That is always a difficulty, isn't it?
It's great,
Once you, I mean, suppose there's other West End things. I mean, I saw an advert the other day for the Back to the Future musical.
No, that's incredible.
Because it's a musical, I guess you could probably suspend your disbelief that it's not Michael J. Fox, you know, and the Doc.
Yeah.
So that's
because you've got technical wizardry in the car.
But if it's an actual play and you've got different people playing the parts, I guess it might be more complicated.
I
hear
it works.
I suppose there's a whole generation of people as well who don't remember it.
No, exactly. But of course, if it's going to be shown now, the trigger warnings will be on.
Of course.
Bits are going to be cut out, you know. So it's very difficult. I mean, the argument is, can you reheat a souffle?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you can.
I don't think you can.
Not really.
No. But then, you know, if that's all you've got, that's what you've got to eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I haven't got anything else. I've got a souffle. What do you want? Steve, very good to see you. Thank you very much. Steve will be back on Plank of the Week later.